A warm welcome to everybody who's online already. As you know, with those digital meetings, it always takes 1 or 2 minutes for everybody to log in, to actually be there. So we'll give it another minute before we officially start to make sure that everybody who wants to tune in is online and is listening to us. But yeah, I just noticed, looking at our speakers, panelists at least, we're quite European actually today instead of our locations where we're based. So I'm calling in from Berlin, as some of you might have heard. Danilo is calling in from Stuttgart, Filip from Prague, and Max from Amsterdam. So that's quite a variety. And perhaps if some of the participants also want to drop in the chat where they are calling in from today, that's also always interesting to hear, but no pressure. And I think it's 16:02, so we can get going. And well, again, good afternoon and welcome to today's GovTech session hosted by Public Germany and Oracle for Startups. My name is Victoria. I'm Senior Associate at Public, and I have the honor of co-hosting today's event together with Max Dunhill from Oracle for Startups. One sentence about Public, because people typically ask, what is Public all about? We're a European ecosystem firm for government technology, or short GovTech. And by GovTech, we mean the application of new technologies and business models to improve the design and delivery of public services. And what we do at Public, together with Oracle today, and also in our regular work, is to bring together two worlds, startups and the public sector, to do projects together, but in this case of the webinar, to talk about trends, technologies that we see emerging in the GovTech landscape. And well, that's also the goal of our webinar today, which focuses on public infrastructure and the future of public infrastructure monitoring. And before I go on to introduce our two speakers, I would like to give the floor to Max for short welcoming remarks. As I said, Oracle for Startups is our partner organization that we're co-hosting today.
Thank you, Victoria. And it's a pleasure to be here today, dialing in, and to be able to moderate this panel with you, Filip and Danilo today. I'm very curious to hear more about how this startup partnership is working in action with the public sector in Prague. And indeed, the Oracle for Startups program is here to provide scalable infrastructure at market-leading costs across the infrastructure as a service and platform as service technology stack, and in the process provide levers for growth like venture capital introductions, customer introductions, co-marketing opportunities. And yeah, as part of that work, GovTech is a particular passion of mine, and I'm again delighted to be here today.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. And well, now let's delve right into the topic. I've already said it, infrastructure monitoring. Why are we talking about that as a GovTech firm or at this GovTech event? Well, because the state is a big owner of infrastructure, of assets, right? And monitoring those has traditionally been a very costly and a very difficult undertaking for city or state governments. You need to maintain and to evaluate the state of infrastructure. And what we see now is that actually there is a new wave of tech startups finding solutions for this problem. So from using satellite data or geospatial data, which we talked about in one of our previous events, to what we will talk about today, using AI to detect and analyze public infrastructure and things that can be improved in the infrastructure. So that's what we're focusing on in the next 55 minutes. And I'm very happy that we have two experts in the field with us today. And I would like to introduce our two speakers. A warm welcome to Danilo Jovicic-Albrecht, co-founder and managing director of Valitex. Some of you might have heard it already. Valitex is a Stuttgart-based AI startup that has developed a very efficient system for road maintenance, and I'm sure we'll learn more about Valitex in just a moment, but welcome, Danilo. And our second speaker for today is Filip Hájek, member of the board of directors of TSK Praha. TSK Praha, or I try this in Czech, it's perfect. Technická správa komunikací. I think it's the technical road administration of the city of Prague. So you're primarily responsible for maintaining the road network in Prague, and you're a partner of Valitex, or one of the cities that is using the Valitex system. So welcome, Filip. We're very glad to have you.
Thank you.
Great. Before I pass over to Danilo and to Filip to tell us more about their work, one remark to the audience. Of course, we will have time for a Q&A in the second half of this hour. So, and then you will also actually get the possibility to speak if you wish so, or do drop your questions in the chat during the course of the event, or raise your hand later to get the answers to your questions. And I think then, with no further ado, I pass to Danilo to give us a very short introduction into the Valitex system, because I think if we talk about it and about how we can monitor infrastructure, I think it's good to have a very basic idea and understanding of your system. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you, Danilo.
All right, thank you. So I will do it very briefly, because I'm sure it's very important to give you just a short overview about the product, and then we will do some deep dive into different topics. First, what we learned 2017 when we started is roads are a heavy asset. So every decision making should be data based. And what we learned is there is no digital data for road maintenance. This is why we started to build our product. So I'm going to share some screen, my screen. Okay, I guess you can see that. So
yeah, perfect.
All right, what we do is AI for better roads. And what every one of us learned the last 10 years is something changed our life, the way we live. It's the phone, the smartphone. And this device can change the life of the municipalities as well. It's so powerful. And I'm going to show you how we use a smartphone to generate data of the road condition with our system. So we do have municipal vehicles in the city, and our smartphone is just attached behind the windshield, and every day they drive around, they collect data of the road surface. Yeah, the driver can start and stop the application. It's our Valitex app, collecting every 4 meters picture of the road surface. And what happens in the background is, I'm going to show you what is going to happen. But first, of course, it's applicable for the cycleways. And what is happening in the background is this. So you can see our neural networks detect signal damages on the road surface. They detect cracks, patches, and of course, potholes if there is one. But we don't want to reach a pothole. This is something that shouldn't be reached, because if we show up where the crack is, you can fill it, so a pothole never comes up. So this is our goal, to do preventive maintenance and to enable cities to start doing preventive maintenance. So this is the point where I would hand over.
Well, thanks, Danilo, for the brief intro. I think I always like to see those systems in action, and you already passed the ball to Filip, right? Because the City of Prague is one of more than 150, I think, partners of yours. More than 150 cities all over Germany and Europe who are using the system. So Filip, we're excited to hear how you are using the system, how you came about using it. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome everybody. My name is Filip Hájek. I'm from Prague. As Victoria was saying, I'm a member of the board of directors of Prague Metropolitan Road. We are not authority, so we are administration. We manage the roads for the city of Prague. In our case, just roads, it's probably 2,500 kilometers of roads, a couple bridges, the oldest from 14th century, the newest probably last year, a couple tunnels, couple of everything. My background is finance. I'm no expert in roads or engineering or anything like that. Before I joined this company, I worked as a CFO of Czech Airlines. So I was, at least in the beginning, pretty much used to data. That was our line of business, and that's what we relied on. I came here and I was a little bit perplexed because I found no data most of the time. And I was always in the history, I was wondering how is it possible that there are potholes everywhere and nobody's fixing them. And I try to look how to solve it. I have a little presentation that I would like to cover the potential solutions that we looked at. I will, one of them is vialytics, obviously, but I'm in this respect no salesman for vialytics, so I will just show it as for the sake of argument, because Danilo will definitely cover that better than I do. The topic of this presentation or of this seminar is the future and infrastructure monitoring. I would say that the future is now, and we need to look at the data that we can get as soon as possible. From my point of view, what we did or what I wanted to do or get is to find out how can I get data about the quality of the roads we have. I'm not sure how many of you are from the same kind of industry as we are, from the road administration, or looking for something to get some sense of what the state of the roads you are managing are. That's definitely our case, and that's what we try. We have legal obligation to do it, which we somehow and sometimes fail. In my view, we rely on the people, but if somebody would really come and say how many times you check this and this road and what you came to find, I'm pretty sure that we would come empty-handed, and we would not be able to really say that we covered this and this, found this and this, and these steps. That's what we try to change. We actually started somehow strangely from the Ferrari of how this can be done. I will click to the next slide, and I will come back to vialytics later. We came to the conclusion that we need some data, and we were looking at some solution. One of our suppliers that is local based, but I'm sure you can find somebody like that in every country, is a company that the solution that they have is basically based on laser scanning of the roads. They have some fairly accurate or really accurate sensors that they have on the cars. the granularity of this monitoring is 1 millimeter, so you can have a perfect 3D models of the roads. The only drawback is that it's really costly. In our the case, we need to run it through the procurement law, and it's a bitch, if I may say, because trying to tender some solution that you don't have really that much idea of what it is difficult. We already run one tender and it failed. But if it would work, I can see that at some point for some users it might be awesome, because you can see tiny little cracks, you can see everything. As I said, you could see I don't know if there are some smaller damages to the road. You can see if the pavement is somehow dented. You can see all that. The drawback, as I'm seeing, is the software behind it is probably very difficult to do. That's what we try to tender as well, and as I said, not pleasant, and with no result. And the drawback that I see is that the roads must be covered. You have to drive the roads in Prague, driving through the 2,500 kilometers of the roads is fairly difficult. And I will come back to it when I maybe hit the last slide with vialytics and say what drove us to vialytics, or why vialytics is one of our solutions that we are trying, and what we see as a drawback. Another, in my view, interesting solution is what I've seen from Naira. Naira is a company that is somehow connected to the Volkswagen Group. I don't even know how. As Skoda Auto is part of the Volkswagen Group, we have a good connection with them, and they introduced us to them. What they do, and I think that's very interesting approach to gathering the data, is that they get the online data from passenger vehicles, from the sensors that are in the cars. They have tons of data from suspension to the brakes to everything, and they try to put it in a big data. They try to roll it out as some products. Currently, they are working on an IRI, so some kind of proxy for the quality of the road. One of the solutions, or one of the products they want to try to do, is traction data, which we would be able to use in the winter if the roads are getting slippery. We can dispatch our trucks to treat the roads. And one of the things that they have in pipeline is the potholes. So really, from the suspension, that you will get the data that something is broken. That's the benefit. The benefits of it, and I will show. And you can see it maybe from this map. From the day one, we've got this coverage of the network. So the roads, the pluses, you have large sample because the data are collected essentially automatically by the people. You get it online. For the slipperiness, I think the delay is 13 minutes and you get the data. In my view, the minuses are that the granularity is fairly big, 15-meter sectors, and you basically just get the map and you don't see anything what's happening on the road. On the plus side, and I think that's what it is used, or where can I see the biggest benefit is you have a timeline, you have trends, and you can see degradation of the road. So you would say, what is the road that year over year got worse, and you can get to that kind of data. And last but not least is vialytics, that I think we will cover in more detail during our discussion. What I see as the benefit of vialytics is that the granularity is fairly good, 4 meters, as Danilo was saying. It's based on the photos. So you have the photos in the product that they have. It's super simple UX in my view. That's the biggest benefit, that you basically what you see is what you get, and what you see is you can somehow see, and the product helps you to categorize the product, the problems that you see on the road, and give you some kind of grading system, which is very simple to understand for everyone. And compared to the laser car, that I think the price tag is 1 million euro, something like that. This is much cheaper. Minus is that, and I will probably run through the discussion, is the roads again must be covered. So you have to drive through the roads to cover them. Right now we are entering the winter season, so it's subject to good visibility. So it cannot be done all the time, and it's an AI, so the algorithms might be wrong in some cases, but again, since you have the photo and you can see with your own eyes what's happening on the road, you can, I think, these potential false positives, you can in a way disregard or work with them. One thing that I didn't cover in this presentation, and we're looking at the data, is the data from Waze for the potholes, because we know the drivers are themselves putting some information to the Waze that they see a pothole. We try to get the data from them, and this is our mix of the data sets that we are looking at. In my view, and I will just say the spoiler, in my view, I don't think there is right and wrong product. I see a benefit of the mix of all these products. If you are a company of our size and you have the processes in place and you know what to do with it. But again, looking from my perspective, when we started off with the Ferrari, and if we would got it, we would have no idea what to do with it. I think at the end of the day, when we started off with the simple solution, is, I think, for me, the biggest benefit of Vialytics. Enough said. Let's discuss.
Thank you, Filip, for your overview, and also for sort of your introduction and your recap of the decision-making process. Because I think if you had not shown this, we certainly would have asked sort of, why have you chosen Vialytics, and what other technical solutions did you look at?
Please ask anyway, because we have 35 minutes, otherwise we'll just stare at each other.
I think we won't just stare at each other. I have lots of questions. I'm sure Max also has, and the audience. So I think we will make good use of the time that we have left. Perhaps my first question direct to Danilo first, because so now we've seen what Filip has described and how CSK Prague came sort of to the decision and what they thought about. But the initial motivation and the starting point was this realization by Filip: there is no data. We need data. We're legally obliged to get data, and we just needed to make good decisions. Danilo, so as I've said, right, you work with cities all over Europe. What is this the typical motivation and the typical starting point for cities to work with you? How do those corporations come about? Do they actively approach you? Are they obliged by law to use systems like yours? Perhaps they also want to modernize some things that they have been doing for many, many years. And yeah, maybe you can describe your customers also a little bit more in terms of city size, the length of the road network, because now Prague is a relatively large city, right? But I think such systems are interesting to cities of all sizes. So a little replique to Filip now would be great to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. So there are two forces. The one is what Filip said. We need to do data-based decisions. So actually, if you look around, the world has become digitalized, right? So processes are digitalized now compared to the 90s. So I guess we're in the very classical development of digitalization within the administration, the public administration. And now every aspect of the processes are uncovered, and people are asking themselves how to digitalize our administrative process. And road maintenance is one of those. So this is the one force, which is the very classical digitalization. And the second force is especially smaller municipalities face with that, manpower problems. So especially in Germany, more and more people got retired because of the fact that the society is getting older. So there is no manpower, and there is no one that is specialized to do the road maintenance and to do the right decisions. And what we are facing with, especially with small municipalities, they need help. This is the scenario. There are some people working in the administration and they're not educated for road maintenance. There are no engineers, but they are in charge of the roads. So this is the starting point where we jump in and our system can help. So what we cover is from the data collection to the decision-making process. At the end, in our user interface, you can see where to start next. Red roads are, of course, very bad, so you should do some investments there. Then you can search for cracks to do some preventive maintenance and to fill the cracks, which is very cheap compared to refurbishment of a whole road. So these are the two main forces to the reflection of how to digitalize processes within administration, and the other is a lot of municipalities really need help in decision making, and especially during Corona or the COVID crisis, municipalities just got more and more responsibilities for very operational stuff they were facing with to build, you know what I mean. So to build the whole infrastructure for solving the crisis, and they feel help. They need help.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. If I just may ask a question in between. So this aspect of needing help and support and demographic change, and actually also having the skills and competencies to do road maintenance, or more general, to use new technologies for public services or mandates that authorities or administration has to do. So Filip, looking at how you use the system, I mean, you've said that one of the reasons why you chose Valitex was the simple UX. So that's good to hear. But more generally, looking at your organization or people you know who are working in public infrastructure monitoring, what's your view on sort of the tech savviness of those people, and well, what do organizations need to consider when implementing such new technologies like Valitex? Is it super easy? Did you need lots of onboarding? How did this all work for you?
Couple questions. I'll try to couple
Mm.
answers. As far as if the people within the organization are super computer savvy, I don't want to let my colleagues down, but I would say no. Our organization hasn't been very strong on the data. I think they did their best. That doesn't mean that it's optimal solution and optimal outcome. So in my view, you need to have some structured data in order to move forward, because otherwise it's going to be super subjective, and you will be missing a lot of problems that people just don't see and don't want to see, or don't have the time to see, or whatever. If you put something like if you have some kind of insight in the road quality, and I don't care how you get it, if you get a couple of retired people who will drive the roads and mark every spot, I don't care. At least you get some data. On the other hand, I don't think that's a cost-effective solution. That's why we looked in the vialytics, because you can get the computer to do the heavy lifting, and you just rely on the data. What I looking in retrospect, what I think is you need to start with a simple solution for the people that will use it. They have to understand what they are getting, and I think with vialytics you can get that. I can show a little demo of. I'll just share the screen. I have it here.
So is it actually you using the dashboard, or how many people?
At the moment, I will. Am I showing the screen?
Yes, you are.
More or less. At the moment, what I was saying at the drawbacks of the project, and I don't think that's Danilo's fault. You have to gather the data. In our case, running through the city, it's troublesome. The biggest struggle that I have currently with it is to gather the data. So if I look at the map of Prague, I currently, and I need to hit some 2,500 kilometers. I have 200. That's the biggest logistical problem for me, but Prague is a little bit tricky on its own because we don't cover all the roads. We cover like 2/3 of the roads, and you have to somehow find a way how to do it. We started from zero. If somebody had already some blogs that they would cover on a regular basis, I would just tell them stop using paper and pen and use this, and it will be much easier. And I think some of the people would or other cities are probably in that situation. In my view, we are starting from the zero, and that's the biggest problem for me. From my personal experience from looking at the product, it's super easy if you scan the roads, what it does, and I will show you, and Danilo can probably tell the details. You basically can basically you run through the roads, you upload the photos to the to vialytics. They will do the heavy lifting. They will tell you on the photo what they see. They somehow put it in some metrics behind it, and they will tell you, in our view, from our perspective, based on the German methodology, I'm fine with that. This road is shitty, and you can fix it. What I think is super easy for the user is you just run through the road as you would go. You can see the damage grading for each patch, and if you see, well, this is better, and I will probably hit some pretty bad spot. and I will see if I trust what Valitex came up with. 99% of the time, I think they get it right, and I think it's just teaching the algorithm. So this is how it works. Then I zoom out. That's what Danilo was saying. I can do some selection of the really bad parts. I can focus on them, and I think I can put my effort and my energy to the spots that are essentially red. But in my view, if people cannot understand or get this after 10-minute presentation, I think they will be lost forever. If they get it, if they understand what it does in 10 minutes, they will be totally fine, and they will be using it, I think, on 100% level coming forward. I don't think that would be the same with other tools that we looked at, that I was showing. I think for them, you need different view, and it has different uses, and but I think that those are products that are meant for something else.
Yeah.
What I like about Valitex, super easy in my view.
Yeah, we got one question from the audience, and as it fits quite nicely with the demo that we have just seen, I would like to ask it straight away. So you've mentioned several times, Filip, that gathering the data and getting the database is a major obstacle or needs to be done. And we
see the question,
yeah.
why we don't ask private angels to take the pictures. Good idea. Again, looking in the retrospect, if I knew it would take me 2 or 3 months to get 200 kilometers, I would probably do it myself. I'm still struggling how to do it. The problem is, and that's probably for Danilo to tell us, but the product is not that you get my iPhone, you get to the road, you upload couple of photos, and ta-da, that's all it does. What they use is their own proprietary app. So we got the iPhones from Valitex. We have, I think, 5 of them, and I think you have to be a little bit skilled how to use them. Get the right angle, don't go against the sun, because otherwise you get shitty pictures. Shitty pictures means shitty data.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't say or don't involve public into it at the moment. Yeah. And I think legally speaking, I would be more than happy to tell to the authorities that we actually did it ourselves and we fulfilled our legal duty. But again, hopefully nobody from the Prague authorities are looking into this.
Danilo, is this the first time that you're hearing this question and sort of crowdsourcing the data, and what's sort of your take? Well, I guess there's a good reason why sort of you do it the way you do it, or the cities do it with municipal vehicles, etc.
Yeah, so this is the very logical question from day one, and I think it could be a marketing accelerator. I'm pretty sure this is very powerful to include the inhabitants or the citizens. But what we learned is road maintenance is a whole process which is owned by the municipality. So they are the process owner, and actually they feel comfortable to own it from the very beginning to the maintenance itself. And the starting point is also quite different. In most municipalities, there are processes which are manual, like checking the roads with pen and paper. So very often they do it, the building yard, they're always outside, they're always repairing something, right? Or cutting trees or whatever. So this operational stuff of a city is always out. side doing something, and our data collection process is linked to those very regular work. So it's very close to the existing processes. So we just jump on the daily drives they do, and sometimes I see that some cities are not comfortable to include the citizens in that very big topic. As I said, roads are a heavy asset, so a lot of money is going into roads, and it can be very political, it can be very engineering, and sometimes not very comfortable. So it's always a very individual situation if the city wants to include the inhabitants into the decision-making process of the road maintenance or not. Even if the administration wants to include the politicians, right? Sometimes even there's a difference. They don't want to show everything, and yeah. So this is what I can see. It's a very broad field.
My take on the question, and I think is good. I would love to have. I would be okay with inviting public to get me the data. I think what Danilo was saying, and I think that's the distinction, to get the data and to use the data for your decision making. I would hate to have the people or politicians, but I probably cannot avoid it, to tell me what I need to repair. But to get the data, I would use any help that I can get. The problem that I see is cost, because if I would get everybody to give me the data, upload it to Vialytics servers, it would probably get super costly. So I think there is some reasonable data feed if they leave it to us. But to be honest, if I would be able to have 400 cameras running through the city, I would incentivize people to collect the data. If it would be only on the iPhone on board computing power, that it would just show me where the potholes are, I would love it. But I think the Valitex product is structured in a slightly different way. It has to do with Gdpr, because then, you know, what I was showing you from the photos, all the license plates are blurred. If there are people, they're blurred. There's some you understand what I'm saying behind it. And if I would just let 400 people run around the city, Danilo will probably tell me that I'm crazy and the price tag must be 20 times higher. But you are correct. I would love to have every help I can have. To be honest, we have, well, if I would tell our suppliers that are running cleaning of the city or driving the garbage collection trucks, I could get 200 cars easily every day that would be able to gather the data. We would just burn the servers down. But if somebody is listening and want to do a product that is that doesn't involve servers and is on board of the iPhone, drop me an email, including you, Danilo.
Yeah. So
but I think it's a different. But I think it's a different use. Like, I would love to have a product that is designed just for potholes, that would tell me pothole, watch out, do and fix it immediately. I would love it. But I don't think you cannot get all the things at the same time. Maybe the Naira solution that I was showing, maybe that will help us with this. Maybe Waze can help us with this. But I think for the segment of the having the quality of the roads and not looking at the potholes, but looking at the different cracks, alligator cracks, That's a that I think is a different product, and Vialytics does it right for this segment.
Perfect. And as we learned in the first place, we don't want to get potholes at all, right? That's what we want to prevent.
And I wanted to add, so Prague is very exceptional. Of course, you're a huge city, one of the biggest in Europe. So your operational challenge is not comparable to the average town, right? So it's a completely different game. And as you said, there may be, there are also other scopes and other perspectives.
Even the tiny things, like you should have 5-10 meters ahead of you to cover the road and take the photo. Do it in Berlin, do it in Prague on a day. On a day, there's always going to be somebody driving in front of you. And if you do a 5-minute gap, they will fill it.
Perfect. As we've just entered the last quarter of our event, perhaps to sort of wrap up this complex of data collection, we have a question actually in the chat still addressing that. So maybe we can get a short answer from Danilo on the question in the chat. If you, or perhaps Filip, also have experience in using taxi or delivery fleets, well, waste collection vehicles, yes, I think Danilo, you do have, right, to use for your data collection. So if maybe you can have a brief answer to that, and then we move on to some other topics for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, so the operations are not our topic. Sorry, Filip, for not consulting you. So at that point, Filip has to think of his fleet. And as he said, he could activate the garbage fleet, right? So the garbage trucks. Actually, Filip, maybe you want to share how the actual data collection.
We tried it. We tried with just to charter it from somebody to cover the roads. Currently in the winter, I have 6 dispatch cars that should be helping the winter cleaning of the road. So I'm looking at that. As I was saying, in my view, the problem of using last mile delivery or waste collection is that I would need so many iPhones and I would have so many overlapping data points that I don't think it would make sense. Like for this product, that I think I'm okay with running through the same road, I don't know, every 2 months, every 3 months. So I have some sense of the quality of the road network. I think for the taxi or for whatever, that would be basically on the spot. I think I would need a little different product that would not run the servers down, but basically would just monitor would just do the quick AI on the iPhone or on the phone, and would basically just say, I'm looking for potholes, nothing else. If I see a pothole, I just send the data patch, and somebody will get it. That's basically what I was saying about the waste or everybody else. Yeah. But slightly different product, and I haven't found it yet. And I haven't been looking really thoroughly though.
All right. Max, let me look at your direction. Do you have any questions to our speakers?
Right. So a question about GDPR. And so with the scanning of the roads, obviously this data includes things like license plates and potentially people's pictures. And yet I noticed that you have the ability to actually filter those out. So is that something that you guys developed yourself? Is that something a third party? How have you managed to accommodate GDPR when ingesting so much data? And I guess that one's for you, Danilo.
Yeah, this topic is very present since day one. So from day one, we had to think of a solution how to blur private data, which are faces and license plates. and we combine existing technology to do so. So actually, I think in that case of the censorship, it's a combination of a lot of neural networks in one way, training data from another, and also systems running some parts of that actually on Oracle, right? So yeah, we combine existing technology to get the result we need.
Super interesting. And a follow-up question. It seems that explainability, especially in the public sector and AI, is such a priority at the moment. Having said that, yeah, classification of is it a pothole, isn't a pothole, doesn't seem to have potentially too many sort of black box unintended consequences. Having said that, is explainability a question that you guys come across a lot? And if so, do you provide any explainability of your models, or is it something that is just relied on at face value? I know Filip, you touched on that with the algorithms could be wrong, but it seems that you guys have such a high accuracy that it's not a concern.
Yeah. So of course we track our accuracy, and we're very confident in very much cases. So very happy with the results. And if there is something not logical, the user has the possibility to with one click just to claim it, oh, this can't be. Then we run the manual quality check, which also helps us to improve the neural networks, of course. So it's a win-win situation. At the end, the result is corrected, but also we win maybe a lot, because it's a very powerful information to improve the algorithm.
Super cool.
So it's interaction between humans and the system, which ultimately improves the system, right? Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Before I have some final or sort of future outlook related questions to both Filip and Danilo, but I would also still like to give the audience the possibility to ask any final questions in the last couple of minutes.
I see a question in the Q&A.
Yeah, there's one open at the moment, but perhaps...
Yeah, I will take it.
You will take it, okay.
I will take it. You're totally right. I hate the potholes. And I don't think the aim for me is to screen them on a Google Maps or Waze or whatever. My aim is to fix it as fast as possible. So to find about it and fix it within 2 hours. That's the main goal that I have. That's the answer A. Answer B is I don't think the potholes magically appear without any prior signs. And I think that's what the checking of the quality of the roads is all about, because it starts with a small crack, it gets to a bigger crack, it then goes to alligator crack, and then there is a pothole. And it doesn't miraculously happen over the next 24 hours. More likely, that's a disaster waiting to happen, and it just happens sometimes. So if you get the data about the earlier stages, then you can do the preventive maintenance that Danilo was talking about. That's where I would want to spend the most money. I don't want to fix the crack that cost me probably 200 euros to fix. If I can just go there with a little bit of tar and just spray it a little bit for, I don't know, 5 euros. That's I think the game.
Very clear answer. And actually, when I was reading the question in the chat, I'm glad, Filip, that you took it so enthusiastically. But Danilo, I was also thinking perhaps actually that's something that you have also already been thinking about, or well, in the end, you hold a massive database, right? Once you sort of add together all the data that you have collected in many cities all over Europe. So I was wondering, is that perhaps something that you have been approached by big players, like we can read here in the question, Google Maps, Apple Maps, other navigation operators who have said, oh, Vialytics has interesting data that we might use, or perhaps that's a new business opportunity.
So it's part of our attitude to be clear about we serve the city.
Yeah.
The data ownership is in the city. So actually, if they would like to improve the citizens' lives or safety, they could so. Data ownership, maybe it's a very German topic, what I'm saying. So data ownership in Germany is very, very much ownership on the administration. And so, yeah, we serve a lot to the city and not beyond that. And actually, your second answer, Filip, was great because this is our mission. We want to avoid the potholes, of course. So a pothole is, if the road would be a living being, a road with a pothole is a dead road. And we want to prolong the life of a living road. So maybe this is the picture we want to communicate.
Yeah, very metaphorical answer. And of course, I wanted to tease you a little with sort of questions on data ownership. I know that being a GovTech startup and things like data ownership, Max has raised data protection. I mean, these are all super important aspects that I know that many GovTech startups are very, very aware of. So I liked your answers. Good. So moving towards the end of our hour, we've talked a lot about Vialytics now, about road maintenance. But Filip, as you've also said in the beginning, your company is not only responsible for roads, but also for bridges, for example, you've mentioned. And when we talked a little before this event, you also said that you have some other plans in mind in terms of parking or street signs to use technology.
We always have plans. I have too many plans and I need some go-to action time. You are right. This is not our first digital project. We are, and I'm grateful for it. We fully digitalized our parking monitoring. We currently have 130,000 parking spaces that we are monitoring digitally with the cars, with the cameras, reading the license plates, checking them against the database of who paid, who did not pay. We are generating tens of thousands fines a day. And we know that essentially this is a similar product or similar similar product to cleaning lady, sorry. Last one in the office. That is something that is using the same logic that Vialytics is using. It's basically, we are gathering the photos and we are doing some analytics on them. The cars are already running within the city, and we want to see how we can either incorporate Vialytics or whatever other solution to the cars that we have. So this is not the first and last thing that we will be doing on a digital basis. And one thing that I forgot to mention that I think is very important: data is the first step. You need to know what to do with the data. And if you remember in the beginning, the map that I showed from Naira that already covered the whole Prague, I was saying, I don't want it because you will give me so many data that I will have no idea what to do with it. And if somebody asks me, I will look like an idiot. So before you get the data, you also need to think what to do with it and have some processes in line, because otherwise you are just looking for data or gathering data and you have no clue what to do with it. That's one of the things that I think everybody has to think about.
Very interesting. Thank you. We've hit 5 p.m. already. Any final remarks? Max, Danilo, something. I think Filip's words were a good round off of this hour. But if any burning issues, please do raise them now, also from the audience. That doesn't seem to be the case. All good, all happy. Well, I thought this was very insightful, just to get an insight into the Valitex system, into Filip, your thinking, how you look at this topic, how you implement systems like the one from Valitex. So thank you so much, Danilo and Filip, for taking the time to talk to us today. And thank you to the audience for listening to us, and to Max and Oracle for Startups for co-hosting. And then I'm wishing you a pleasant afternoon or good evening, and see you next time. All the best.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.